How you doing? We're at the, I think there's like a few more sessions after us, so hang in there. So we're very excited to represent the Anthropic team today to talk about an AI-empowered revenue organization. I heard this at the Clay Cup earlier, but there were quite a few chants for Claude. Who here uses Claude? By the end, I hope all of you are next time we're presenting. My name's Aubrey Morgan. I lead our demand gen and ABM function here at Anthropic, and I joined in December 2024, which is a veteran in Anthropic time, so that's more than half the company. But here's the real veteran.
Hi, everyone. I'm Adam Wall. I'm our head of GTM infrastructure at Anthropic. As Aubrey mentioned, also a relative veteran in Anthropic timeline. I joined in January 2024. And by the way, that empire that Yash mentioned was college, not high school. I'm not a criminal. Okay. But to quickly set the scene, Anthropic was founded in 2021, and if you aren't familiar with us, we're an AI lab known for producing some of the world's most intelligent AI models. We are here to ensure that the world safely makes the transition through transformative AI, and we're trying to raise the bar for all companies when it comes to building trustworthy AI systems. But like I mentioned, I joined in January 2024, so it was right before the release of Claude 3 and when our commercial efforts really took off. You can see here our product velocity and our product timeline. Significant model releases essentially every 3 months. And mixed in with this, we had things like the release of MCP, or Model Context Protocol, which has become the industry standard for building agentic workflows, and also continuing to improve on things like our developer toolkit and releasing products like Cloud Code. All of this, you have to imagine, was stacked on top of us having an incredibly small GTM team at the time I joined. We had fewer than 10 total people in GTM Ops. And again, as Josh mentioned, I was a one-man RevOps show trying to keep the lights on for everybody. So you can imagine the pace at which GTM Ops needed to operate. So suffice it to say, we were building the car as we were driving it. And the car was quickly turning into a plane, which was quickly turning into a rocket. But I'll just say the chaos forced us to innovate in a way that we maybe wouldn't have if we had the luxury of time. So I'll accept it as a good thing. But throughout this journey, we have had the vision for creating an AI-empowered GTM team. We, of course, want to dog food all of our own tools, but ideally, if we do this right, we'll create a virtuous cycle where we are using Claude to augment and improve the performance of our GTM team, but not have the goal of outright replacing them. We are extremely intentional about investing both in the technological and human development of our team and of our systems, and of helping Claude help serve our customers as we all go through this wild AI transition together.
Great. So I'm going to do my best to speak to the early days of go-to-market operations, even though Adam really felt the pain of it. But basically going from like top of funnel all the way down to kind of our data and insights. Demand generation, going way back to a year ago, was basically a website. We had a contact sales form. We had a way to access our models, and we had a really awesome comms team that was doing a great job sharing our mission and also talking about the latest innovation. So it was a lot of organic growth already. We had 2 BDRs as well, so keep that in mind. I think maybe 1 and then 2 when I joined. And so we basically, when I joined, it was really about moving from passenger seat to driver's seat. And it wasn't just about, hey, let's take the leads and do our best to follow up with them, but actually, like, how do we engage intentionally and bring real programs to market, like events, webinars, ads, so on and so forth. But as you can imagine, as we introduce those programs, the demand explodes even more. And so we really need to make sure that this super lean BDR team was being used efficiently. So I make a joke, it's not that funny, but my job is demand generation. It's really demand organization, demand orchestration. So we're really, like, this is where Clay is really important to this entire function, is really just making sure that we are creating a great experience, enriching the leads, and making sure that not only are we using our sales capacity at its best and most efficient, but also making sure that we're driving great customer experiences. So we wanted to do a lot of new things, like creating like more personalized messaging And yeah, lots of more stuff to come.
Yeah, it was a very similar story on the RevOps side of things. When I joined, Salesforce was basically completely out of the box. Everything was manual, very little automation or customization. And we really had a lot of the same data challenges, data 101 challenges, frankly, that I think everyone in this room is intimately familiar with. And if you look back even a couple of years ago, there were so many things that just felt completely fantastical and impossible. So for example, the idea of getting on-demand competitive intelligence, live sentiment from all of your customer call conversations, unique data points for your ICP. A couple of years ago, you either needed to write this off as being completely impossible or start spinning up large offshore teams to be able to do this custom research. And so coming in fresh, that was the initial state of things and scene until Clay stepped onto the scene. So to give a quick nod to the Clay team, we adopted fairly early on in this journey. I want to say it was around March in 2024. But the ability to quickly get our data house in order by leveraging the multi-source enrichment from Clay, and the fact that Claude was already integrated into the tool and we could use Claude on top of all of this data was tremendously helpful, especially for me as a single operator. The fact that then all of this enrichment layer was seamlessly integrated with the rest of the GTM stack made all this even faster to deploy. And then, of course, we were able to do a lot of these impossible things all of a sudden with ClayAgent. We could get those custom data points that we'd never be able to buy from a traditional data provider. And so many of these impossible things now seem possible.
Yeah, and then I think from the marketing perspective, like Clay really unlocked not just managing the inbound effectively with scoring and qualification and routing and triage, but actually allowing us to think about true outbound and personalized messaging at scale. So that was very exciting for us. So yeah, so how we built a truly autonomous revenue engine, we kind of break out into 3 categories. I think the first layer, which is sometimes the most boring layer, but I know there's a lot of nerds in this room, the foundation layer of data infrastructure, very important, very exciting. The intelligence layer is really where we're taking all these and taking all the data and then actually extracting, leveraging Claude to build out like more of the sentiment analysis and the messaging that we can leverage. And then finally, the acceleration layer, which is really important for reps or for anyone in the revenue organization to be able to access these insights wherever they want and not just having to go to one place to get it. So as we talk about the foundation layer, what you can see here is a traditional lead funnel, or lead flow rather, and how we process leads. Now, maybe 2 years ago, this would have been 5 different systems. And so coming into Anthropic, about 10 months ago, we were able to actually say, OK, well, how do we take, I do not want to buy 100 tools. Luckily, Adam had already bought Clay. And so we went through together and said, OK, well, let's take these leads and actually call to Clay as many times as we can to do all the things that we want to make a perfect funnel. So you can see that we have lead enrichment. We're doing lead to account matching. We're actually doing a mega account enrichment project that actually Adam will speak to in a second. Scoring, routing, and triage, and actually working through with the BDR team, personalized messaging at scale, leveraging signals as well. So it's really exciting and just awesome to see that we can do this with not 20 tools.
As we get into layer 2 and the intelligence layer with that data infrastructure in place, this is where we start to get into the stuff that I get really excited about. So we called this Project Telescope internally. It was initially led by a great member of our partnerships team. But this is essentially taking Clay and all the power that it provides and layering it on top of a mix of both internal quantitative data and then external data from additional sources that we'd purchased. This allows us to get all of the bespoke insights and personalization of messaging that we wanted to have. And we were also able to use Claude within this flow to take what was traditionally unstructured data and make it actually useful for segmentation. So think things like having hundreds of different industry values from a variety of different data providers. We were able to use AI to put this into a refined taxonomy that would actually be useful for us in a lot of our flows, or even things like taking your generic open text note fields and actually being able to get structured data out of it. From there, we're able to generate account summaries. We can do tiering. We can estimate LLM spend potential of a lot of these accounts based on these signals. And this is all happening on top of those initial Clay data pipelines and data layer, and then subsequently piped into our data warehouse. Because of this, this allows our teams to be able to access this information from wherever they feel most comfortable. So they can get at this information from our BI tools, they can access it from Salesforce, they can query it directly, they can plug it into sequencing, and really try to meet them where they're at with all of the data that we're providing to our team. And in the end, it's creating these super rich profiles, which are a combination of AI insights, human input, and of course, all of our internal quantitative data. So just wanted to give you a quick little preview of one of the prompts that's driving this project. This is a simplified version. You know, we're not giving away all of the secret sauce today. And you definitely should customize this for your own ICP and your own business as well. But you can see, just as a summary concepts, how we are integrating the enrichment fields and how we're walking Claude through this logical thinking process. No tricks, no threats, no bribes to the model like we thought we maybe needed to do in some of the early days of prompt engineering. Just simple, clear instructions that Claude can clearly follow. Also, to take a step back, we view prompting as an important skill that we want everyone in our GTM organization to have. It's culturally valued, it's generally taught, and it feeds into some of the stuff that we're going to talk about here next. So layer 3 is our acceleration layer. And there are many different parts of this and many different tools, far more than I'd be able to get into today. But one that I wanted to highlight that I'm particularly fond of, we call Claude Research. This is essentially a self-serve research tool that allows all of our AEs, all of our BDRs, to access Claygent directly from the Salesforce user interface. And by the way, this entire front end was vibe coded in Claude Code by one talented productivity engineer on our team and allows them to access it. But from there, all of our users can select templates, or they can generate their own prompts, leveraging those skills that we were talking about earlier, and they can pick any list of accounts, contact leads, or extract sentiment from any of the gong calls that we have in the system. From there, after the research runs and the results come back, all of that is subsequently stored in Salesforce for them to be able to access it later on. Now, what we found incredibly useful here is that in addition to the record-by-record research, we've had a lot of our team taking those Salesforce data points and exporting them and putting them into either a Claude project or a Claude Code project. Now, I think you might be wondering, like, why would someone want to do that? But interacting with that data superset has a couple pretty interesting applications. So for example, we had one account executive on our team that ran a custom research prompt to get an initial feel for his book of business after it was assigned, export it, and then actually wrote a custom on-demand program to help with his prioritization in Claude Code on top of all of this data. No technical expertise or background for this person, but they were able to completely make it their own by combining those tools. Another common example is if you're wanting to try and get a macro theme from all of your sales call transcripts. Typically, if you were trying to do this by exporting all of the call transcripts and putting it into Claude or any other AI tool of choice, you'll usually run up against a context limit pretty quickly. But by using this method, you're able to get the call-by-call level insight of whatever question it is you're looking to ask or insight you're looking to gather, feed that information into Claude or, again, Claude Code, and get your larger thematic insight and even build custom dashboards and visuals on top of it. But all of this just goes to show that, yes, we can and do automate end-to-end like we were talking about in the intelligence layer, but we're also very intentionally trying to empower our team with enhanced thinking and giving them the tools to think on their own and think better.
Great. And then just on the marketing side, for the acceleration layer, something that we're workshopping right now, it actually just vibe coded, basically an ABM platform using all of these insights. So we're actually, this is like basically an MVP right now, but this is coming very soon. And so we're able to take an aggregation of all of the contacts, the lead to account matching, and be able to have like a one-to-one conversation with each rep and say, OK, here's what's going on in the account. Here's what we're going to do next. So very excited. Claude Code has been an absolute game changer for us in taking all this great work that we've been doing with Clay.
Yeah, turns out Claude Code, not just for software developers.
Yes. I was surprised as well.
Great, but a few parting thoughts as we go. So number one, the fundamentals still matter. And trust me, I know how tempting it is to want to chase the super fancy end-to-end AI workflow on day one and impress your boss and do all of these different things. But AI still ultimately works better when it has great data and when it has great context. So it's still important to get these the foundations right and invest in infrastructure. But from there, you really can do the impossible. All of those things that we were talking about with a couple of years ago that seemed impossible, you now can do them. You can get those custom insights for your ICP. That six-figure consulting study that you usually had to pay for, you can probably get a pretty good version of it yourself now. And again, going back to that point on Claude Code, I have personally found that the build versus buy paradigms that I've held for a very long time have started to be challenged. With tools like Claude Code, with tools like Clay, you're now able to build on your own more than I would have ever thought possible, and continuing to see this line shift, which I think has been really interesting. And then finally, parting thought, I would encourage you all to balance automation and empowerment. Because if you still want direct relationships with your customers, and I think you should have those, your GTM team not only needs to be able to receive all of these AI-generated insights, but they need to be able to internalize them. They need to be able to use them in a real-life conversation with another human, and that requires them to believe in the outputs and to understand where they're coming from. Also, don't automate garbage. Don't contribute to the AI slop that's out there. We want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And so with that in mind, use AI to empower your team, to make them better, to make them think better, faster, more efficiently. But we must not blindly replace their thinking. So with that, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for hosting us.